Hello, I'm FGXToyCat and welcome back to an episode of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I'm playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft Bedrock Edition, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And in today's episode, I'm going to be doing a little bit of destruction, but it's for the sake of construction actually, because we're going to be doing a little bit of destroying stuff so that we can build something new in its place, because recently, you might have seen some amount of this in the video, but I made a new furnace area in my world, because everything I need to smelt, whether it be meat, or whether it be all the ores which come from underground, are going to come to this area, or at least should come to this area, and therefore I want to have a big smelting hub. And I've made the smelting hub, I probably need more furnaces for like mega projects like the 50,000 glass, but I've got the, the smelting hub. I've got a couple of like things here to deal with this stuff, but I don't have like an actual area for it. You can see just how messy this is and how it doesn't fit in with the environment. So today we're going to be building a giant furnace place for that, like kind of housing in a building. And then also while we do that, I wanted to talk about some, I guess, like embarrassing lies, because generally speaking, I don't lie, I would say. I try not to. I've stated why a few times, but it's just like, if you can avoid lying, why not just go ahead and do that? And yeah, basically, despite the fact that, I try not to lie, in past it's happened, sometimes even in recent times, like, I'm just like, why did I do that? And yeah, I wanted to talk about embarrassing lies for no reason, kind of as like, maybe this is catharsis and makes it feel better, and half of all because it's like, well, now, in the future, I'll be even less encouraged to lie, because then in 10 years I'll have to make another video like this telling you about my awkward situations I've had. Because again, one of them happened in Japan. I was just like, why did I just do that? This is I guess the kind of common theme of all of today's video, of just the simple question of like, why is this a thing that needs to be done? And the answer is usually it isn't a thing that needs to be done, but people just lie all the time anyway. And when I say people, again, I'm going to include myself in that one, because for the most part, I would say general rule is try not to lie. But despite that fact, let me talk about the first lie I can remember telling, because it's ingrained in my head to this day, after we do some counting, by the way, because this is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and then this could be 16. So yeah, basically this is a lie that's been ingrained in my head the entire time, because when I was maybe like 6, it was called year 1 in the UK, or grade 1 or whatever, but when I was literally 6, we're in this class, like IT for the first time, and the question comes up of like, so what's your favorite color? And everyone had a favorite color just like already picked out, already decided, etc. And I was like, oh, that's kind of odd or whatever. What is my favorite color? I don't know. It's like, that panic when like someone comes to you for an answer and you're not sure what you're gonna pick. That was me. I was like, oh god, this this is something I hadn't even considered yet. Like I have no clue what my answer's gonna be. So when someone who I was friendly with in the class, they're just like, oh yeah, my favorite color's blue. And I was just like, oh yeah, blue, that's mine too. And yeah, the entirety of life, I've gone my entire, like, pretty much the entire way since then saying, oh yeah, blue is just my favorite color. There's nothing special about the color blue. I don't really like any colors hugely over other ones. Like, there's good colors and bad colors, I would say. Like, oh yeah, there's, like, if I'm gonna wear a t-shirt, generally it's not pink. I mean, I'm fine with a pink t-shirt, but like, usually it's not the color choice I go with. And if I'm gonna, generally speaking, like, oh yeah, like black is just the generic color that works, and everyone has like preferences like that, but I don't have a favorite color, a color that beats all the other colors and is the best in the land. And yeah, every time it comes up, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's totally blue, and it's super bizarre, because there's still no reason, even now, even all this time later, there was still pretty much no reason for me to say that, but yet I said it anyway, and yet it's gonna be in my head in a thing that I've said forever now, and now you know. If you please don't ever ask me my favorite color, or that's gonna come up. But it's not the only embarrassing lie I've told. So we need to place one of these down just to keep an eye on it, because we're making a big blast furnace, so we need to keep an eye on just the number of blocks that go in here, so we can do stuff like, for instance, place some smooth stone. Brand new block from 1.9, in case you haven't experienced it yet. Pretty fun block. But yeah, basically, one of the things that's on like a similar level, I would say, in terms of like, why did I do this? Why is this a thing? Is honestly gonna have to be the fact that when I was younger, I stole a chocolate ball. And like, stealing, I would say, is kind of like a form of lying, right? I mean, it's lying, it's breaking your agreement with the shop not to steal their stuff. I mean, that's one way to call it a lie, right? But yeah, I've only really willingly stolen one thing in my life, and it was like the lowest value item. Like, some people are like, oh yeah, I stole a car, I stole this. The thing I've stolen, oh actually, I that's a lie. I've stolen glasses, like from places that serve you drinks in those glasses, but like that's more like as a spite, you know, that wasn't, I would say, for the sake of stealing or having a thing that I didn't pay for. That was more like spite mixed with them having very nice glasses. But again, very different story. When I was a young child, I stole a chocolate ball because I was like, well, I would like, you know, I really had this thing for chocolate footballs. Like, it was probably terrible chocolate, but just like, oh, it's chocolate and it's shaped like a football. That's amazing. That's like two good things for the price of one. That's great. I can't believe this is a thing that hasn't caught on. I don't know what my logic was. All I know is I really love these chocolate footballs. But, you know, my parents wouldn't get me them, so I dragged behind, you know, a little bit. I went into the aisle, and maybe, just maybe, I got myself some more chocolate footballs. And yeah, so I put them in it was at the time a short pocket, like, you know, pockets to a pair of shorts, I should clarify, maybe. But I put them in my shorts pockets, and I was like, okay, just gonna walk out, gonna pray we don't get caught or whatever. And of course I didn't. Of course, there was no real way. Like, it was a pick and mix, tiny, single chocolate football. We're talking, like, in terms of grams, like 2 grams. It probably was at a cost of like a penny or something, if that. Like, it's a almost intangible amount to steal. However, you know, like, I later, it melted in my pocket because I forgot about it. Like, this thing I wanted so much, I couldn't eat in front of everyone else because, like, they'd know, like, hey, we didn't buy that. Wait a minute, that's illegal. What are you doing there? So, of course, I had to, instead of, you know, like, telling people, I had to kind of just, like, you know, keep it in my pocket. But it was a hot summer's day. That's why I was wearing shorts, actually. See, all tying in together now. And, yeah, as a result, the thing melted. So we're going to place some stuff there. And so when my parents asked me, like, so why is there so much chocolate all over your pocket? Like, what's the deal with that? And, you know, there's so many plausible things I could have said, but I was like, oh, so earlier in the store, I was in the aisle with the pick and mix, and I fell on a chocolate football, and I guess I must have just forgotten about it this entire time. Like, you know, I basically admitted to stealing in, like, kid terms, because here's the crazy thing. I didn't realize this till I've dealt with, like, enough children, because, you know, there's some children in my family. Every now and then it comes up where I'm in a situation where there's kids around. Kids lie a lot, and they're really bad at lying, but, like, you know, adults around you will just humor you, because, you know, accusing a child of lying, they're like, no, you know, the defense that, you know, trying to prove that a child lied just it's too much effort, so you go, oh yeah, I guess that's what must have happened. I guess you must have just fallen on the football. What a crazy coincidence, eh? Like, you could probably mess with a child that way, I reckon. But yeah, actually, that's one of the things that I realized the more I think back as to, like, oh yeah, when you're young, you think that you're super smart and you know what's going on, but, like, everyone around you is just, like, going through the least resistive course action. Like, their best move is just not to challenge you on certain things, and that's I guess some people thinking that they actually are so smart is why you have a lot of people in the world who are the way they are. So fun fact to Toy Cat right there, kind of throw that out there. But no, yeah, it's one of those bizarre things to me that just, like, oh yeah, everyone knew, you know, or like my family, my mother, I guess, I think it was at the time, clearly knew that, like, oh yeah, you probably stole that, but it was just like, whatever, you know, you fell on a chocolate ball. And yeah, I to this day, it wasn't even a big deal. It was just like, oh, can you clean up your trousers kind of thing. So yeah, one of the more embarrassing stories is just I pretended to fall on a chocolate ball and went for a very elaborate lie just to protect myself because I stole, and I was like, oh god, this is gonna be a terrible thing. There's gonna be serious consequences. And just you know, actually, as maybe you find this interesting, but every single like day, every single time I heard police sirens off, then for like 2 or 3 years or something afterwards, I would still be like, okay, it's the police, they're coming, it's finally over, you know, they've worked out the the robbery of that chocolate ball that one time. And yeah, it's actually crazy, like, again, when you look at that same knowledge as an adult and you're like, oh yeah, so every retail store has a certain amount of margin, it's called like shrinkage, where they just expect when you get 100 of a product in, you know, between 1 and 2, sometimes it's as high as 5 of those products. Like, oh yeah, it's just a certain number of those are gonna go missing. It's just, that's just how the facts are. And I've always thought that was kind of crazy by itself. That, like, oh yeah, no, there's no way that an individual product's ever gonna be noticed when it goes missing. Like certain places, like Costco, for instance, it's worth it for them to go through the receipts and work out like, okay, yeah, their shrinkage is very, very low. But even then, even a Costco has some shrinkage, some like, oh yeah, there's some theft or some just stuff that happens somewhere along the line that we can't detect. And I thought that's kind of, maybe you think that's crazy too. Maybe you think, wow, isn't it crazy that even, no matter how hard you try to protect against stealing, you never really fully protect against it. You mitigate the risk, you don't remove it. So yeah, fun fact, it's Toy Cat that maybe you think is fun. Or maybe you think that's terrifying, like, sure. It sucks. Whenever you buy a good, you're kind of buying for 1.02 or 1.03 of it, because you're also paying for the person who stole theirs. And again, that's the interesting kind of counter side of stealing that maybe you never think about. So, yeah, other embarrassing lies they've told, to think about it briefly. Oh, actually not. Should we just skip to the present? Like, I think these are the more embarrassing ones, because like, oh yeah, you can trash talk child version of you all day, like, oh, kids are so stupid, right? But let me talk about how 23-year-old men who play Minecraft on YouTube, despite it being 2019 and Minecraft clearly being dead, right? But let's talk about how stupid those people can be, because yeah, when I was in Japan, I was there for 3 weeks. It's the longest trip I've ever taken anywhere. Like, it's one of the, I'm so glad I got to do it. Like, I'm in such a privileged position, I guess, to be in the place where that was a thing I could do. But yeah, I just wanted to mention it real quick and say like, oh yeah, while I was in Japan, I went to Fukuoka. I like their airport code. It's just FUK. Fun fact. So ha ha ha. I was gonna make some fun video using that in the title. I never got to. So I'll make jokes a bit right now. Like, hey, their airport is just, again, there's just lots of fun things you can do with an airport code that's like that. I never got to do any of it, and that's very sad. But yeah, basically, one of the things that in Japan I did that was kind of silly was I went to an owl cafe, and yeah, I think it was an owl cafe. It's a bizarre concept. Japan's weird. We all know that. That's not news to anyone. But one of the things that I went to was an owl cafe. It was a place where you could, you know, like have a drink, and then really just, it was mostly about having owls like jump on you. That's why my Twitch profile picture is me and an owl. Fun fact, now you know, right? So yeah, at one point during the thing, like, I speak to the woman next to me. She knows English apparently. Maybe she's from Korea or something. And she says something like, "Oh, so how did you find this place?" And the moment she says that, I'm just like, oh god, I've got to hide my cover, because I googled, like, I was like, wait, is this a thing I've heard of in this city? I think it is, like, because I just got in there and I was like, oh, I don't actually know anything here. It's one of the few cities where I just didn't have anything planned. And I was like, I think I've heard something about this, that, maybe. And yeah, so of course I did a little, you know, I googled it after the fact, and when she asked me, I was like, I can't admit that. I don't know why I couldn't admit that. Like, was I embarrassed of it? I don't know for sure, but I didn't want to admit it. So I was like, oh no, I just stumbled past it. I saw it today, and I was like, wow, what a bizarre thing that is. And yeah, she was like, oh, same here, we did the same. And in my head, again, this is my head canon, like what I really think happened there is she had the same thing, where she's like, oh, I can't let the silly foreigner who just stumbled past this know that I researched this, because I wanted to pet an owl quite badly too. And yeah, now you know. Fun fact, Toy Cat. Also, I think we're gonna have, so this is my entry barrel for my hopper machine. We're gonna move it over there, I reckon, because like, it makes sense if we're putting things in the middle of the blast furnace as opposed to the side. Should we even do that now? I think we should do that now. You don't. Let's do that now. It's good. So let's go ahead. Let's make some hoppers, and let's make this actually make some sense. Assuming I can pick up my barrel. That's a tricky tool order apparently. So let's go. Let's do this. Because my plan is to use the blast furnace both as a fun building idea if we can ever finish it, because we need more wool, but also as like oh yeah, I'm putting things in the blast furnace, and then the blast furnace just manually deals with it. So that's what we're doing, in case you are curious. Now you know. So we'll have, I guess, yeah, we have to remove 2 of these blocks, and then we have like a hopper and a barrel. And then, yeah, okay, so I'm describing something, but you'll see it in a few seconds. And in those few seconds, I can say, yeah, I don't, sometimes you feel embarrassment for things that you objectively know aren't even embarrassing. Or even if things are embarrassing, like, what does it matter if you tell a stranger anything embarrassing? Like, again, I could tell someone like, hey, this is literally the most embarrassing thing in my life. It wouldn't matter, I'm never gonna see them again. I often do. I try to get like very good at just telling strangers secrets, I guess I would say, just on the level of, oh yeah, it's probably healthy that way, right? Like, the more secrets you tell, the I'm really bad. Like, I don't know, this is like, while I'm talking, it's really hard to get a jump like this done. Okay, so now we put a thing there, then a hopper here, and then we put the barrel on top, and then we've got ourselves a system where all we have to do is throw things on this one barrel, and then everything just sorts itself from there. So now, It's not 100% complete, but we have a blast furnace. Again, we have to do the sides, we have to do the walls. There's a lot of other stuff that has to be done here, but inside the blast furnace, everything's going to be there. This has to be moved, of course, but that's a whole other separate thing. So for now, because the biggest part of the project is we need to make more of the furnaces, but we have plenty of cobblestone, let's go get lots and lots of coal, because you saw how useful those coal blocks were, not only for the front of it, but coal blocks are also an amazing furnace fuel. And I recently found a fortune-free pickaxe, which I put away because I thought it was dead way sooner than I should have. Like, look how much, look how many ores I could probably mine with this. So we're going to go look for some caves, find a lot of coal, and I'm going to talk to you about the rest of these. Because when I was in Vancouver, I think it was maybe my first time going to Canada, if not my second time going to Canada. I'd been just to Chicago, I think. I flew from America to Canada, and to me at least, I was like, oh, this will be a really easy flight. Like, because America and Canada, they're like close out. Yeah, but I assumed, because it's visa-free travel between Canada and US. The US, there's only one country that can get into the US without filling out one of those ESTAs that's technically legally a non-visa, but really stretches the rules of what, basically, it's one of those things where the US is, if you want to come to the UK, because the UK has signed an agreement with America where we both let each other in visa-free, you can come to the UK, it's fine, show up your passport, we trust you, do the reverse, and you get scanned it. So, you have to fill out a form, 72 hours, you have to, there's a lot of separate steps that go in where they're like, hey, even though we signed this thing where we said we trust you, we also don't want to trust you. So, fun fact of Toy Cat right there. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is because so Canada's the one country that doesn't have this for the US and vice versa. Maybe it'll be really easy to get into Canada this time. Even though I have all the paperwork, which is required for a regular entry, I figured this would be a nice, easy opportunity. A smaller airport like Vancouver's not the biggest city, but my God, were they, I got questioned so much, so many things. I was questioned at the border this one time. I was in a separate line. I had to wait for hours, I want to say, to speak to an immigration official who was then just like, not really trustful of this United Kingdom place. I sure have never heard of this. This is definitely not an ally of ours. Questioned everything about my plans, etc. And while he was asking about my plans, what I was doing in Vancouver, I was just like, I didn't want to tell him. Again, this is an immigration official. You really, really need to tell these people the truth. But I just didn't want to. I was like, oh man, he's gonna think my plans are lame or something. That's not cool. So yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm here for tourist things. I think I'm gonna see what the local tourist activities are, and that's gonna be fun. Because I was there for 24 hours or something, and that was like his red flag moment where he's like, you don't know what you're doing here, sir. And I was like, I've heard there's a nice park you can walk around or something. For pro tip, if you're in Vancouver, there is a really nice view around the top of the island, I want to say. But there's a few nice areas like that. And he was not buying any of this. And long story short, I wasted a couple of hours of my life waiting in the line for this, and then I lost another hour or so while they checked my bag, everything in it, asked questions about all my prescription, not even prescription medication, just medication. This is a sleeping pill from the US. They're very legal there and here. Stuff like that, But there and here, I mean, America and Canada, you can't buy sleeping pills so much in the UK. Fun facts of Toy Cat for you right there. Anyway, so next up, I've got one last one I wanted to tell, because this is one that I still think is so silly on just every level, because it doesn't even really make sense on. Again, it doesn't even make any sense. It's just proof that embarrassment, this is embarrassing lies for no reason, right? This is one of those ones that, to me at least, is what? Why even? There's not even any real justification for this. So I wanted to tell it, and maybe someone's had a similar situation, because this is literally no reason, right? This is literally feeling embarrassment in a place where there shouldn't be one come, because, whenever I go somewhere, there is a little bit of, travel anxiety, let's call it. We're like, what if everyone thinks this is the lamest thing in the world? And because when I go places, I generally do slightly different things than the average person does, and there's a lot of people, everyone has different plans and ways to enjoy themselves and other things and stuff. So that's a real fear. But while I was in Japan, I got a little bit sick. Not seriously sick, sick in a way that I do all the time, to put things simply. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to a pharmacy. I'm gonna find some, I know the name of the drug in English. I think it's Imodium, but it's I know the name of the drug. I can find it. It's a pretty international thing. I've got it in Singapore before, so I can probably get it here. Although actually, fun fact, again, so if you don't know, Imodium is anti-diarrhea, I want to say. I don't actually know what it's meant to do. I want to say that's what it does. I hope that I'm correct. I try not to give medical, like, anything resembling medical advice, I shy away from. So, like, it's probably for that. That's my assumption. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find that. That might imply what my condition was to you, you know, work it out yourself maybe. And while I was in Japan, I went to a pharmacy because I was like, okay, I really, really need this. And yeah, while I was looking around, a woman came up and was like, you know, said some Japanese. I was like, English? Question mark. And she went into a drawer somewhere, pulled out this sheet where she had all the symptoms written in English and Japanese, so we could, like, you know, basically a conversion sheet so we could talk in both languages. And yeah, one of the things, like, I pointed out, like, okay, yeah, I have this one, the most embarrassing one on the list. And then she asked, like, so do you also have this one? And it was stomach pains. And I was like, oh god, I'm not ready to tell another human being I have stomach pains. Like, yeah, like, you know, diarrhea is a nice, like, easy, fun, like, again, it's the worst thing to tell someone you have, right? Like, it's as a pro tip, if you want someone to believe you're ill and you're not, just say diarrhea, and everyone's like, ooh, yeah, the fact to be willing to tell me you have that, you must have something wrong. It's a non-questioner, right? Like, most people are not comfortable having at length conversations about it. And yeah, I still can't work out what now, right? Where I was like, okay, I've got to real quick, like, got to work out something, some lie I can tell, so I don't have to admit I have stomach pains. And as a result of that, by the way, just as proof, if you are familiar with your Japanese medication, which I'm concerned if you are. So just as a heads up, I'm recording this at 3 a.m. 4 a.m. now, actually, 4:29 a.m. They go up a little bit later in the day. But yeah, let me show you my webcam, assuming that's a thing. I got these as a result. Oh, my green screen's on super heavy. But I got these as a result. Like, look at that. Like, it does something to you. It's made from, like, roots of some form, and it didn't help me at all. I don't even understand the format. Like, it's like yellow pills that look like they dissolve in something, maybe? They didn't dissolve in my mouth. They tasted terrible. I got the wrong medication for the issue I was having, purely because I was just embarrassed about, again, about not only the lesser of the two embarrassing, you know, things, but about something that isn't embarrassing. Like, having a painful stomach is something that's fine to say, right? Like, oh yeah, it's a painful stomach. Just, you might have one as you're watching this video, and you probably would feel fine leaving it in the comments. But yeah, I don't know. That's absurd, but it is a thing that is a thing. Also, you know, here's a... This isn't embarrassing lie. This is like the opposite to me. This is a... It's kind of like a above the... It's a lie that a lot of YouTubers make that I try not to. It's like, when you record something that's not the time you upload it. Like, if a YouTuber releases a video every single day at 9 p.m., you know that they're probably not recording those videos at 8:20, finishing editing them at 8:40, and then that's the exact moment it finishes uploading. Because YouTubers have a thing called schedule uploads. It's like, this is known, you know, this is a known quantity. At least, I hope it's a known quantity. But one of the things that I find interesting is that, like, despite the fact that it should be quite well known, like, anyone who thinks about it can realize that, oh yeah, logically this can't actually... Do I want to... You know, let's smelt our coal using coal. What a really smart idea that is. But it's something everyone knows, like, if you think about it. But, like, some of the YouTubers are still like, oh no, this is definitely live right now. Like, this is me 10 minutes before the recording. Like, they try their best to hide it, and it's always been to me like, let's just say, like, it's fine that this isn't perfectly live, you know? This is Monday morning now. Like, it's gonna be like another 12 hours, 14 hours till this goes live. But that's fine, right? Like, it doesn't... I don't know, like, it's one of those weird, like, embarrassing lies I don't tell. Lies that are embarrassing to tell, maybe. Kind of fits in the same way. Although, actually, you know, okay, so... Yeah, those are some embarrassing lies I told. Let me know if you've told some of the same. Let me know what you think about my blast furnace. And I want to end on one last one, because it comes up all the time, and this is my, like, catharsis song, so let's talk about it a little bit, maybe. Because, yeah, basically, when people ask, one of the most over-asked questions, I don't even know where this comes from, you know, when it's a younger audience, because there's a lot of, there are a lot of young people who play Minecraft. That's a fact, right? Everyone knows that. And some of those younger people watch me. Oh, it's not... I don't have the highest ratio of, like, children watching me. Like, when there's a kid and there's a bunch of YouTubers, like, usually I know, like, okay, it's for someone else. And then sometimes it's like, oh, hey, it's like cat. However, every now and then, you know, like, some young children, like, age 10, 11, 7, you know, something like that. Like, that sort of age range will be like, hey, it's like cat, can I ask you a question? I'm like, you just did. But you're not... Again, I'm going to be polite, friendly. Yeah, sure, ask me a question. What's up? Friend, and they'll be like, So what's your favorite block in Minecraft? And it's like, this is a question you clearly don't care about the answer to, right? You're gonna forget the answer. This is like trying to simulate conversation. Again, in the same way you can tell when, at least in my head, you can tell when, you can tell when someone is, you can tell when children are lying. You can also tell when, like, what is the purpose of this? This isn't a useful, this isn't what most conversation is meant to be a useful exchange of information. This is just the opposite of that. This is just terribleness. And yeah, as a result of that, I make up a different answer every time. Like, oh yeah, I like the brick block. It's pretty good. I used it to make my house. I like wood because it's so versatile. So yeah, just as a fun fact, if you ever meet me and me ask that question, I'm gonna come up with a random block. And I don't feel bad about that, even in the slightest, but it is sort of an embarrassing lie to tell. Which, you know, is also in the same vein why if you ask me what my favorite color is, I'm gonna tell you it's blue. Which, you know, actually that's a good place to end today's video on. I'm gonna say thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you liked it in some way, or if you didn't like it, then I hope that you get out of here, don't come back. But no, yeah, I hope you'll enjoy. But no, I hope you'll enjoy this video regardless. I guess next week we should probably work on replacing this never thing with something similar. I want it to be in the same vein, but not quite the same. So that's something we'll work out in the soon-to-be future. But yeah, for now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. We've seemed to have made our monstrosity into more of a monstrosity. But if that's not life, then I don't know what it is. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, because I'm going to see you all in the next one. Oh, do you like my new thumbnails? I don't like, they're objectively worse than all the other ones on the channel, but they're different now, and maybe that's the thing you like. Maybe it's not. Oh, also, go check out the video where I made this, because you might have been curious this whole time, like, what is all of this, Toy Cat? And it's a furnace magic machine. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, because I'll see you all next time. Bye.